The day the HOA killed my barn remodel was the day I stopped playing nice. I had everything ready: permits, a contractor, lumber piled high on my 3-acre lot, tucked behind a curtain of pines at the edge of the neighborhood. My place was a good half-mile from the nearest cul-de-sac, out of sight from the pristine lawns and identical mailboxes the HOA worshipped. But that didn't stop Claudia Ramsey, the HOA president, from strutting onto my property in her tailored jacket and giant sunglasses, acting like she ruled the world. "You can't build that barn, the VYD," she said, her voice sharp as a knife, arms folded tight. "It clashes with the community's aesthetic." I stared at her, my pulse ticking up. My land was practically in the woods, next to nothing but a muddy retention pond and the half-built clubhouse she'd been siphoning our dues into for months. "Claudia," I said, forcing calm, "I submitted the plans 2 months ago. You approved them." She pulled out a clipboard, flipping a page with a smug little flourish. "I rescinded that approval. The board reconsidered. Your barn's non-compliant. Sorry, rules are rules." Her smirk screamed she wasn't sorry, she was low-VYing this. This wasn't about my barn. It was about her need to control everything. For 2 years, I'd towed the line, paid my dues, sat through her endless meetings while she and her pack of retired meddlers churned out bylaws to micromanage our lives. But now they'd picked the wrong fight, and I was done bowing down. "I'll appeal," I shot back. "Go ahead," she said, turning on her heel with a laugh. "The board always sides with me." That night, I spread out every document I had: permits, emails, blueprints. I wasn't just mad, I was locked in. I found a clause in the HOA charter. Structures for livestock or emergency storage could skirt aesthetic rules. My barn qualified, but Claudia had the board wrapped around her finger. 3 weeks later, they held a shady vote without telling me to shut me down. My contractor walked. The lumber rotted under a tarp. My wife, Emily, tried to talk me down. "It's just a barn, Dave." I shook my head, voice low. "It's not the barn. It's them thinking they own us." That's when it hit me. Claudia had been crowing about her dream project. A La VYSH clubhouse, transformed from the old pool house with chandeliers, a chef's kitchen, the works. But I'd overheard a jam at one of her meetings. They were missing permits. I hit the county office, pulled records, and called a buddy in the building department. Jackpot. Uninspected wiring, a foundation that didn't match the plans, and, best of all, the clubhouse was on community land. Every HOA member could request to use it, me included. So, I filed a request: clubhouse for construction workshop, indefinite duration, community barn model showcase. 2 days later, Claudia was at my door, face purple with rage. "You're not turning our clubhouse into a dump," she hissed. I leaned against the frame, grinning. "Not a dump. A construction zone. City's cool with it. You forgot to deny my request in 72 hours. Bylaws say it's approved." I handed her the rule, printed and highlighted. Her hands shook as she snatched it. For a week, I made her clubhouse my battleground. I rolled in saws, drywall, stacks of 2x4s. Every morning, I cranked my power saw, the screech ripping through her elegant space. Sawdust coated the hardwood floors she'd bragged about staining autumn chestnut. Claudia called the city. They said I was golden. She changed the locks. I had the code. She yelled at me in front of neighbors. "You're destroying our community." I just shrugged. I'm improv-VYing it. Thinking about a framing workshop. Next week, retirees, eat that up. Her prized chandelier sat in a box as I drilled plywood in the middle of the room, the noise like a war zone. Her allies gawked, horrified, as I ran a sander, kicking up with dust like storm. This wasn't just about Chowsit, it was about pro-VYing the clubhouse. Wasn't her personal palace. It was ours. Then an insurance guy showed up, clutching a clipboard, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. "The VYD Harper?" he asked, dodging lumber. "Complaints about liability." I handed him my laminated approval. Page 3, Section 8. Liabilities waived for personal use with proper gear. He skimmed it, muttered about checking it, and flinched when I fired up the saw. That weekend, I threw a workshop. I set up chairs, passed out flyers, and invited neighbors who'd griped about the HOA but never fought back. We covered framing, load calculations, the works. "Claudia's going to stroke out," said Pete, a retired plumber from across the street. She can join, I said, handing him a tape measure. Tell her to bring cookies. Claudia called an emergency meeting and changed the Clubhouse code to lock me out. I didn't rant. I taped my approval to the door and waited. By noon, a city inspector rolled up. Heard you're trespassing, he said. I showed him my permits and gave him the tour. Safety signs, fire extinguisher, sealed containers. He nodded. You're tighter than most pros. Whoever filed that complaint might regret it. False reports can bite back. That night, I tore into HOA records minutes, budgets, filings. I found a trail. Due loss $70,000 in discretionary funds diverted to the Clubhouse, approved in a meeting that never happened. The minutes were faked, signatures photoshopped. I sent it all to my college friend, Natalie, a fraud investigator with the county. Dave, she said, this isn't a mistake. It's criminal. At the next HOA meeting, I sat in the back, silent. Claudia marched in, papers in hand, but froze when she saw me. She sped through the usual nonsense landscaping. Parking then declared, we're banning personal clubhouse use. Before she could finish, Natalie walked in with 2 deputies, badge gleaming. Claudia Ramsey, we need you to answer for financial discrepancies and forged documents. The room gasped. Claudia sputtered, this is a mistake. Natalie shut her down. Come quietly, it's better for you. A deputy led her out as she looked around, shell-shocked, like her empire had crumbled. The board sat mute. Neighbors demanded the HOA's books, and a special election was set. The clubhouse was locked for a county audit. Then it got crazier. A detective, Laura Tate, showed up at my house. Natalie flagged something, she said. The HOA wired money to a ghost Campanino staff. No tax ID. Linked to Claudia's cousin, a contractor who went bust after a string of shady jobs. Emily leaned in. How long? Laura checked her notes. Over a year. It's embezzlement, maybe conspiracy. I handed her my extra files. She scanned them, stone-faced. They're facing charges. This could get ugly. The real gut punch came when the county found the clubhouse's new HVAC was pumping carbon monoxide into a sealed room. It had been used for a few meetings and a party Claudia threw for her consultant. That could have been deadly, Laura said. The county taped off the clubhouse and opened a probe for public endangerment. 3 more board members got subpoenas, one dragged out during dinner. Claudia vanished, her house dark, car gone. I didn't care. My contractor was back, and the barn was rising. Foundation set, frame up, lofts added. Neighbors dropped by with beers, stories of HOA nonsense fines for mailbox colors, fees for untraceable landscaping. Why didn't you fight? I asked one guy, Carl. Claudia had us all scared, he said. I tossed him a nail gun. Help me with this rafter. The city held a hearing on HOA oversight, sparked by my fight and others. I testified, keeping it simple, blocked permits, stolen funds, fake approvals. I left out the power tools in the clubhouse, no need to gloat. Claudia and 2 board members were indicted for embezzlement, forgery, and obstruction. At a packed meeting in the school gym, the clubhouse still sealed. Karen Holt, the new board president, a retired teacher, didn't sugarcoat it. The old board didn't just screw up. They broke the law. Neighbors roared about fines for petty rules, all feeding Claudia's schemes. Karen announced a vote to rewrite the bylaws, mandating community approval for big expenses. I stood. Use my barn for meetings. It's got power, seats, air. The applause shook me. The barn became our heart workshops, MOVYE nights, a chilly cook-off. Neighbors brought tools, ideas, laughter. At Claudia's trial, I sat in the courtroom. The case was airtight. Dulon $90,000 stolen, a lethal HVAC, forged records. Guilty on all counts. Claudia got 5 years, her cousin 3, others plead deals. The neighborhood softened. Kids played without noise complaints. The new board posted every dime online. One day, Pete showed up with paint for the clubhouse, now cleared. Golden oak, he said. Beats their dull beige. We tested it on my barn's wall, brushes swiping in the quiet dusk. By summer, the clubhouse reopened, fully permitted, with a plaque listing contributors me name low, where it belonged. The barn stayed our anchor. Karen gave me a carved oak barn model, a quiet thank you. I sat on my desk. The neighborhood felt alive, free from Claudia's grip. One night, I stood on my porch, the clubhouse lights faint through the trees. Claudia was out there somewhere, probably raging at how it all fell apart. She shouldn't have messed with my barn. So what's your take? Was I a hero for flipping the script on a clubhouse? Or did I push it too far? Are HOAs a necessary EVYL, or just playground for petty tyrants like Claudia? Or would you have done file like hell, or walked away? Drop your thoughts below, smash that like button if you're Team Barn, and subscribe for more stories that'll make you question who's really running the show.